So Joe Burrow went on the New Heights podcast, that's Travis Kelce and Jason Kelce's podcast, and he talked about basically his matchup, I guess the Bengals matchup against the Kansas City Chiefs, and he said, and I quote, "They have great players. We have great players. I think we match up pretty well with them. I think we're built to beat them. I always appreciate the legendary battles we have. Guys are out there always making plays. Patrick is always going to be out there making plays. Both teams have big-time defensive lines. It's a great matchup." They have had some very, very good matchups indeed. Joe Burrow and the Bengals have a record of 3-1, including the playoffs against Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs. But I want to know, do you like Burrow's bold statement this early into the offseason? We're not even close to training yet. We just started voluntary workouts over here.
Yeah. No, I like it a lot. I think that you see Joe Burrow got hurt last year. He didn't play much of the season. It was a tough season for the Bengals, right? They had high expectations. Super Bowl contender, expected to be there. They started out very poorly. Burrow was hurt in preseason and never really got it going. I mean, he actually started to get it going, but then he got hurt and was out for the rest of the season, and that was it for them. And so he's pumped now. I mean, missing all that time and watching from the sidelines and seeing his team not being able to even make it into the playoffs. I think it really hurt him, and now he's anxious to get back. He's healed up, and he's going to be ready to go. So I like his fire.
Okay, so you're right. Massive expectations coming off a crushing AFC Championship loss, I believe, to the Kansas City Chiefs the year prior. He gets hurt in the preseason. I even had him as my MVP candidate. He was supposed to be my MVP. I picked him during the preseason to be my MVP.
I picked Jamar Chase to be the offensive player of the year.
You did, because the Bengals are supposed to be this dominant team that makes a decent run just because of the fact you have Joe Burrow out there, you have Jamar Chase, you have T. Higgins, you have a lot of talent. And at the time, now the offseason has changed it, but you had Joe Mixon and a pretty decent defense. My problem is, and we've seen this a number of times, and especially this season, the Chiefs like to get a lot of sort of baggage. They carry everything with them, and they keep the receipts, and when they need to take them out, they show you, hey, we didn't forget about what you said. Remember last offseason, I forgot who said it, Burrowhead. They started calling Arrowhead Burrowhead because of the fact that at the time, the Bengals were 3-0. What happens? Mahomes shuts them up and beats them when it matters most. Stops them from going to back-to-back Super Bowls. So my concern is, are you just giving them sort of material, bulletin board material for when you play them? I think that's the dangerous part because we saw this season. They were counted out. Travis Kelce was labeled, not maybe aging too far. No wide receiver core. Running game will look better. Defense was still great, but overall we said these the Chiefs are right now not looking that great. And lo and behold, they went out and win a Super Bowl.
Yeah.
So that's my concern when it comes to, maybe jumping the gun a little bit too much. We're only in April here.
Yeah, I understand that, but I don't think the Chiefs will take that as a diss on them in any way at all, because I thought Burrow was complimentary to both teams, right? He said they're great, we're great,
right?
And they have to respect Burrow's opinion. He has beat them 3 out of 4 times.
Yeah.
Right. And once to get to the Super Bowl. They met twice in the AFC Championship game, both good games. So and one time the Chiefs won, one time the Bengals won. So I don't think that the Chiefs will take that as a diss in any way. I think they will. I think they'll take it as kind of a respectful comment, right? That I think you guys are great. I think we're great, too. I'm looking forward to a Herculean battles out there, as we've had in the past. Let the best team win.
And what's funny is that in the regular season, Joe Burrow absolutely wipes the floor with Mahomes. We're talking Joe Burrow 78% completion percentage to Mahomes' 67%. Those are very high numbers, but still, Joe Burrow has nearly 80% completion percentage in 2 regular season matchups. Also 6 touchdowns, no picks, and then Mahomes has 3 touchdowns, no picks, with 482 yards. The playoffs is where Mahomes actually gets the edge. 62% completion percentage for Burrow to 67% for Mahomes. Mahomes has more yards, a better touchdown-interception ratio. Like, that's really where it separates, is in the playoffs. Now, the last time we saw Burrow and the Bengals beat the Chiefs in the playoffs was the AFC Championship game where I believe it's the opening overtime drive. Mahomes just says, hey, screw it, Tyreek Hill's out there somewhere, and throws a pick, and then all Burrow's got to do is, drive him close enough to kick a field goal. Money Mac kicks a field goal, and lo and behold, we're done with the game, and Chiefs move on to the Super Bowl and nearly won the Super Bowl. But this is a Chiefs team that has new motivation. They're trying to do something that's never been done in NFL history before, and that's three-peat. Go back to back to back. So if you're adding fuel to an already, burning fire.
3 times in Super Bowl era.
Right.
Yeah.
3 straight Super Bowls. So don't add fuel to the fire. Keep your mouth shut. When you play and you win, then start talking. But be careful. It really depends on when you talk. If you play, let's say, just hypothetically, let's say you play week 6, and Joe Burrow does what he's done in the regular season, put up 78% completion percentage, and they win. And then you start talking. You already know you're going to see them in the playoffs. So don't start talking until you beat them in the playoffs. So that's really my primary concern is you're talking way too soon. And besides, T. Higgins, thank God for the Bengals fans, he looks like he's, dropping back on his trade demand and he's willing to be a Bengal for this foreseeable future. But if you lost T. Higgins, there's a pretty gaping hole right there. Now, you could fill it with a Brian Thomas Jr., you can fill it with a Xavier Worthy, A.D. Mitchell. You have opportunities to fill it there. But you also have Tyler Boyd on the market. You have a couple guys who you kind of want to bring back. Your running game is nowhere where it was with Joe Mixon. I think you got Zach Moss as your starting running back. He's not going to go out there and rush for 1,300 yards and 8 touchdowns, let's say. You already had I believe you had the last, 32nd ranked running attack last season. You're going to need to give Joe Burrow help. Your offensive line can't hold up. Imagine. And the Chiefs just signed Chris Jones to a massive extension. That Chiefs defense is ranked number 2 all year against your crippled offensive line that for some reason they can never get right. You have Trent Brown and, I'm forgetting his name now. He used to play for the Chiefs, Orlando Brown. Those are 2 6'8", 350-pound giants right there. Your interior line needs a little bit of work. It's not terrible, but it needs a little bit of work. If Chris Jones starts wreaking havoc, you better believe they're going to be hitting you hard. They will be hitting you hard to make sure that you eat your words that you said. Yeah. So,
I think those are good points. I think the Bengals are maybe a little suspect. They lost Joe Mixon, right? He's gone.
Yeah.
Although he got hurt last year, too. He was another casualty.
Right.
For them. So Jonah Williams is gone. DJ Reader is gone. And Chidobe Awuzie, right? He's gone. Tyler Boyd is a free agent. They picked up Zach Moss to replace Mixon. I think that's a little bit of a downgrade, right?
I agree.
Mike Gesicki, we watched him play for the Patriots last year. Not very good.
Was that Mac Jones and Bailey Zappi, though?
Yeah, and Trent Brown didn't play so hot either.
Right, he was not.
Both those guys.
He was okay in passing, but not running.
Sheldon Rankins and Geno Stone. I never heard of those guys. So I think
Sheldon Rankins is not bad.
I think that's going to be. I think that's a downgrade for the team overall. Right? They may still rise to the occasion. They still have the big 3. Burrow, Jamar Chase, and T. Higgins.
Right.
And looks like T. Higgins has given up on his trade request. So.
Right.
So I do think that they may have lost a little something there. They're going to have to see what they can do in the draft and, see how the team's going to gel a little bit because there's a lot of new names on there.
I think the defense is where I think the Bengals are going to fall, maybe to teams that you won't expect them losing to. And also, we have to realize this. Joe Burrow is 1 injury away from being a serious casualty. You paid him a bunch of money. He's had 2 serious injuries that's knocked him out for large chunks of the season, if not the entire season. I mean, he got hurt in the preseason. He looked horrible in the first 4 weeks. Then he finally, had a decent little stretch there, and I think his best game was against the 49ers. Although we've come to realize that during that time, that defense, little bit questionable, but it's still the San Francisco 49ers defense with star power literally at every position. But that's really where they picked up. And then you have the bad injury again. I forget who. I believe it was against the Baltimore Ravens. He had a hand injury, and then he's out for the rest of the year. So he's one serious injury away from, do we need to draft our next quarterback? Because if he's going to keep getting hurt, you're paying him $53 million for him to sit on the bench and get into rehab?
They probably have insurance on that somehow.
You would hope so.
But you're right. I mean, you want him out there on the field. He's one of the best quarterbacks in the league when he's healthy. And and he hasn't been able to do that, at least last year, and then he had the other injury before. So, and he takes some hits, man. The offensive line has been porous. And the number of sacks he's taken over the years, particularly in the playoffs a couple of years ago, right? And every game he was getting sacked 10 or 12 times. It was ridiculous.
I think he got sacked 70 times or something like that in one singular run.
Wow.
Like it was very bad.
That adds up. I mean, that's going to wear on you after a while.
Well, I think the best comparison right now to just the amount of sacks versus like time lost is Andrew Luck. If he's going to keep getting slaughtered out there, he's not going to have a very long playing career. And that's going to be incredibly disappointing because of the amount of talent Burrow possesses. I mean, we're talking about a guy who I think a lot of people had for MVP this season, this prior season, who definitely thought that the Bengals were Super Bowl contenders, and he ends up getting hurt. And he looks horrible through the first month of the year. And we're like, okay, what's happening? I know he's hurt. You should bench him, let him rest, let him get healthy, and bring him back. Because really, it's rough to see that much talent be wasted because you can't get the offensive line right. So if you could just get that, and right now, like I said, you have two behemoths on your left and right tackle. Hopefully Trent Brown holds up. He had an okay year last year, but his course with the Patriots was a pretty ugly one. But if you could just hold up, give Joe Burrow some time, he could execute a pocket. I still think, fully healthy, he's my number one quarterback in the league, even over Mahomes.
Really? Wow.
I mean, he's beaten him 3 times. And in the regular season, nearly 80% completion percentage, 6 touchdowns, no picks against these Chiefs.
Yeah.
You just got to stay healthy, and that's a massive question mark at this point. We've seen 2
Well, they're
serious
trying
injuries.
to beef up the offensive line with Trent Brown.
You hope he's good enough.
I mean, he's big enough.
He's 6'8". I think he's 350, 320, something like that. Somewhere in between there.
I think he's 350. I think he might even be more than that. I thought he was like 360.
I'll look it up, yeah.
Yeah. I think he's 360.
359.
359, pretty close.
Yeah. And Orlando Brown's 344.
Wow.
So, yeah, you have 2 massive guys protecting your blind side, and then you got your right tackle. So, if those guys hold up, give you an extra half second, I think you should stay relatively healthy throughout the rest of the season. Hi, everybody. Thanks for watching. Make sure you subscribe here to get the latest from the show. Also, if you want to check out the full episode, make sure you click the I in the top right-hand corner right now. If you want to listen to this show anywhere you go, make sure you go to anchor.fm/The Harvey Hour or anywhere you get your podcasts.